Hi friends! Today we're going to learn how to weave a wall hanging. You will need yarn in the colors of your choice, a pair of scissors, a pencil, a ruler, a stick, a shoebox, masking tape, and a threading tool such as a popsicle stick, a kebab stick, a knitting needle, or a piece of cardboard. To begin, take your ruler and mark notches 1 centimeter apart. You'll need to do this on both the top and the bottom of your shoebox. Then cut each notch about 1 centimeter deep. What you're doing right now is turning your shoebox into a loom. A loom is something that you weave on. Choose the yarn that you want to use for your warp and tie a large knot at the end of your string. Starting at your first notch, you'll press the yarn into each notch, making sure you leave no slack. And just so you know, what you're assembling right now is called your warp. Now you'll cut the yarn, leaving at least 3 inches of a tail, and then tie another large knot. Now press that yarn into the last notch, making sure that the knot holds it in place. Then grab the yarn that you want to start weaving with. Now it's time to attach our weaving tool. There are lots of ways to do this. What I usually do is tape the yarn to my weaving tool with a bit of masking tape, like this. Make sure your yarn is securely attached, and now it's time to measure out how much yarn you'd like to start weaving with. Once you've cut the amount you'd like to start with, watch closely to see how we tie it to the warp. Notice that I'm creating a secure double knot on the warp string that's furthest to the left and on the end that's closest to me. Now it's time to start weaving. You simply thread the needle and the yarn through the warp strings in an over then under pattern. Be sure to keep your yarn from getting tangled, and don't leave any slack in the yarn that you're pulling through. It should be pulled through so it's slightly snug but not tight. Now we'll weave that yarn back in the opposite direction. Make sure that if you left off the last string going over it, you continue in the opposite direction going under. Otherwise, you'll simply undo the weaving you just did. Make sure you keep your weaving close together, and then thread the yarn back in the opposite direction, continuing the over-under pattern. Also, the yarn that you're weaving back and forth right now is called the weft. Again, notice that each time I pull the yarn through, I make sure there is no slack and I scrunch the weft together so there are no gaps. If you run out of yarn or simply want to switch colors, cut the string near your needle, then tie a new string onto the old string near the base of the old string's tail, like this. Then measure out how much you want of the new yarn, cut it, and then attach it to your needle. Then simply continue weaving on as you did before. And you'll notice that you can just tuck the knot that was created from attaching the new yarn to the underside of your weaving so that it doesn't show. Continue weaving and simply switch yarns whenever you would like a new color or a change of texture in your weaving design. And here's just a quick refresher if you need to see one more time how to add new yarn. Note that you'll want to end your weaving with 3 to 4 inches left at the top of the warp so you can tie your strings off easily. Once you're finished weaving, you can close it off by looping back through the last warp thread and make a knot like this. Then, you'll weave back through a few more warp threads and then cut off the remainder of the weaving yarn. Then, to create your fringe, cut as many strands as there are warp strings. Make them 2 times the desired length of your fringe. They can be just one color or many different colors, it's up to you. Once you have all of the yarn cut for your fringe, you can attach it to the bottom of your weaving by folding each strand of yarn in half and then push the loop under the first warp string. Then bring the ends through the loop and pull like this. Repeat this step with each warp string. Once you've attached your fringe, carefully remove all of your warp strings from the bottom of your loom. Then cut off the warp strings at the top of the loom, cutting as close as you can to the loom, leaving as much length as possible on those top strings. Now you'll tie a double knot with each pair of strings you cut from the shoebox, like this. Then you can turn your weaving over and trim all of the little tails from the knots you tied when you attached new pieces of yarn. Then you can also tuck the tail of the loose end of the weaving strand back through the last line of the weave. Next, you'll double knot the strings onto your mounting stick or dowel. Last of all, you can take a long piece of string, fold it in half, and tie a knot at the end, and then attach it to the stick or dowel like this. And your beautiful weaving is ready to be hung on your wall. Great job! Thanks so much for making a wall hanging with me. If you'd like to see more art videos, click subscribe, and we'll see you here next time to have some more fun making art.